If you really look at yourself, you would be speechless. What happened to being doctors and teachers? What happened to being...
Yo, what is poppin'? It's your boy, Mr.BandClap, and we in the building with a 2023 BandClap TV podcast. Man, I really miss y'all. As you can see, it is super cold out here in the main city of Memphis right now. A lot has been going on since my absence. I really appreciate the support. I appreciate all the love, all the well wishes that I've been receiving since my last video. I couldn't have been here without you all, so I appreciate you so, fam. I hope that you all enjoyed that episode of Eshu's World with AI. You know, I want to use my platform, and especially my media and production company, to showcase a lot of things that you all may or may not have heard of. You know, tell my own stories, the things that have been, you know, that I've meditated on and channeled and all that type of stuff. So, you know, I appreciate you all for going on this journey with me, and I really hope that you all like that episode. Shout out to Melody. She was the voice actress for AI, and man, she did a really good job, didn't she? You know, this is her first voice acting gig, and she knocked it out the park. So I definitely appreciate her, and I appreciate all of you all's support going on this journey with me. This is a dream come true. I never thought to say that I got my own animated series. You know, this is still kind of, I'm still kind of speechless about this. So, you know, since my absence, I've been seeing a lot of things online. You know, it's 2023 now, so a lot of talk about shadow work, a lot of talk about therapy. You know, especially with the recent events, you know, that we've been going through, especially in my city. So, a few years ago, I made this video, and I was talking about, I was going to do a video called Shadow Work Ain't Pretty. Well, it's about that time to drop that video. So this podcast, this is going to be part one. I don't know how many parts is going to be in this series. I feel like that this is something that, especially as a community, that we need to touch on. I've been seeing a lot of people talk about shadow work now, since I dropped that shadow work class in 2020, and that class will be back soon. I'm still working, getting back on my feet, you know, after everything that happened with my truck. And so this podcast is going to be talking about not only some things that I went through in my shadow work journey, but I want to really discuss why is shadow work even important. You know, I've heard a lot of different definitions of it. You know, I have my own definition of it. When I talk about shadow work, I talk about it in the sense of getting to know your inner child. And not only getting to know your inner child, but creating your own world. You know, creating your own world and becoming the supreme being in the world that you created. You know, and this is what I'm doing with Eshu's World. So I want to be a motivation, not just talking it, but I want y'all to see me doing things as far as taking action, you know. So that's why this Eshu's World project is so near and dear to me. And you know, so this is what I'm going to be talking about. I want to talk about why is shadow work even important. You know, I want to talk about some channel messages that I received on this subject, and yeah, we got a lot to talk about. So I hope that you all will be on this journey with me. And yeah, this is the 2023 episode of TV. And let's get this show on the road.
Activate. Yo, this is Ludacris. What's going on? This is Drake.
It's Tiger Young Money Zone.
It's your boy Wiz Khalifa, man.
This is Big Sean.
Yo, what's up, y'all? This is Kanye West.
It's Jay-Z.
Yep, this is your boy Weezy.
You're in the mix with the DJ always banging the real hip-hop. DJ
BandClap. I feel like fucking something, but we could be corny, fucking sugar. I ain't no dummy. I like to say but if we could kiss and just cut the rubbish, then I might be on to something. I ain't giving you one in public, I'm giving you hundreds, fuck it. something we just gotta get into. Sang first, middle, last on the wisdom tooth. Niggas wishing that the pussy was a kissing booth. Taste breakfast, lunch, and gin and juice. And that dinner just like dessert too. And when we French refresh, give me two. When I bite that lip, come 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 bite that lip.
Singing outside, taking it live. Honey is coming back. Tell me if you're ready. Get down for the fellas, feeling sweet, and tight. You know I'm coming back. Tell me if you're ready. Listen for the ladies, singing outside, taking it live. You know I'm coming back. Tell me if you're ready. Get down for the fellas, feeling sweet, and tight. You know I'm coming back. Tell me if you're ready. I heard you wanted to party. Well, I feel the same, so I'm here to show you what the music does to me, oh baby. It's in the rhythm, understanding the emotion in me, baby. I'm stronger than any potion, yeah. There's no rain in this groove, and I have come back to thank you. 'Cause I'm gonna ladies standing outside, taking it light. You know I'm coming back. Tell me if you're ready. Break it down for the fellas, feeling sweet and inside. You know I'm coming back.
Give me a buck, need the Gucci store. Push your limit, you ain't good enough. All your niggas say that you lost without me. All my bitches feel like I dodged the county. Fucking with you feel like jail, nigga. I can't even exhale, nigga. Pussy like holy grail, you know that. You gon' make me need bail, you know that. Caught sleeping with your friend, you ain't even have man lying on you. You know that. Got me a bag for the brick, you know that. Control them soda pays if I throw back all this ass for real. I'ma make you feel fantasy with a bill. It's all I can give you, give you, give you, give you.
You know I'm coming back. Tell me if you're ready. Break it down for the fellas, feeling sweet and inside. You know I'm coming back. Tell me if you're ready. Tonight, it's right. We're having a good time. Good time. Just lay back and relax. It's time and you know it. Because I'm coming straight to you now. It's a rhythm, understanding the emotion. Giving me back. Oh yeah. Music on me, smile. Because I'm for the ladies hanging outside, taking it light. You know I'm coming back. Tell me if you're ready. Break it down for the fellas, feeling sweet, keeping it tight. You know I'm coming back. Tell me.
I go on and on again. He blowing on my phone, but I'm ignoring him. He thinking he the one, I got like 4 of him. Yeah, I'm sitting first class like bad Victorian. Came a long way from rag to riches. 5-star bitch, yeah, I taste so delicious. Let him lick the plate, yeah, I make him do the dishes. Now he on News 12, cause a bitch we're missing.
It's been a long time since we party all night, like tonight. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? It's been a long time since we party all night, like tonight. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Represent for the ladies singing outside, taking it live. Honey is coming back. Tell me if you're ready. Get down for the fellas, feeling sweet, keeping it tight. You know I'm coming back. Tell me if you're ready. Represent for the ladies singing outside, taking it live. You know I'm coming back. Tell me if you're ready. Get down for the fellas, feeling sweet, keeping it tight. You know I'm coming back. Tell me if you're ready.
Yo, what is poppin'? Before the video starts, I just want to let you all know that I give readings, just like the ones that you see every Monday on my channel. I give on point Orisha Tarot card readings for singles and also for couples. I also do natal chart consultations, My Everything is Everything reading is by far my bestseller. If you want to check out any of these services, please visit my website at www.bandclaptv.com. So again, if you want to check these things out, go to my website, www.bandclaptv.com. All right, on with All right, y'all. So we back. Welcome to a 2023 BandClap TV podcast. Man, whew, it has, when I tell you, it has been a journey. Since y'all last heard from me, it's definitely been a journey. I missed y'all so much. So much has been going on in the world. A lot has been transpiring. A lot has transpired since we last talked, since I last did a video or anything like that. I know for me, this year is definitely going to be a special year. It's going to definitely be a breakout year for me because, you know, it's 2023, which is a 7-year. I'm a Soul Urge 7, which means that for me, anything that I do where my inner child is center stage, anything that I do where, you know, it's one with who I am as a person and also who I am spiritually and all those type of things. Anything that I do in that realm is definitely going to be successful. It's definitely going to pop off, which means a lot of changes, a lot of things, a lot of old things had to pass away in order to make room for the new things and all of that. And with me, since I knew this was going to be special, I always like to start my year off with something extremely special. And this year definitely wasn't going to be any different. So with that being said, even though there was so much that I wanted to talk about, so much has been going on, for the life of me, my higher self, my inner child, didn't want me to drop anything else BandClap TV related until this Eshu's World came out. So mainly, this is what I've been working on all of this time. I started this episode around late December, so I've been working on it ever since then, and I hope that you all enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed creating it. When I tell you this is a dream come true for me, because never in a million years I ever thought that I would actually be successful at creating my own cartoon, creating my own animated series. This was something 20 years in the making. 20 years. Since I've been at home, you know, since I've been in Memphis, since I've been at home, I was able to get my dad's video camera to work, and I was able to find a very, very powerful gem. And you know, one day, if I ever decided to do a documentary about, you know, Eshu's World, or somebody wanted to make like a documentary about me one day or something like that, this old tape that I found is going to be the a reminiscent of how everything started with this dream that I've always had. I found this tape, and I was like 10 years old, and like I said, you know, when I was little, I used to steal my dad's video camera when he wasn't looking, and I'll be in my room, and pretty much the same thing that you all would see on Eshu's World is the same thing I used to do with my toys when I was a kid. And I actually found that tape of me, I think I was like 10 or 11 years old, and you know, I got my toys, and I'm doing like the little voiceovers, and I'm playing with them in like a stop motion type of way, even though I didn't know how to do that. But you know, and you know, when I was watching that, it kind of brought tears to my eyes, because I remember during that time, it was only like a wild fantasy that I would ever create something even remotely close to the things that I idolized when it comes to like cartoons and stuff like that as a kid. And I even remember being in school and making essays and stuff like that, talking about how I want to be a cartoonist when I grow up and all of that. And I just remember all the pushback. I remember all the pushback that I got, and even from my parents. I remember I had these comic characters that I would create these little comic books and stuff like that. And I was one of those kids too that would get in trouble a lot, because instead of me doing my work, I would be one of those kids that would be doodling in my journal and stuff like that. I would be creating these comic books and giving them to my teachers in class and all that type of stuff. And I remember how my parents, you know, they would be kind of scared for me, you know, thinking that one day I'm gonna get in trouble, stuff like that. And it was a real fragile type of hobby for me. And when those things happened, you know, they would throw away my comic books and, you know, all that type of stuff, and kind of discouraged me from doing that. I kind of let that go. You know, I would still play with my toys and all that, but I kind of let that go. And it was after that I got into music. You know, that's when I started wanting to play the piano and wanting to play the saxophone. You know, the saxophone that came later. And then, you know, that's when I started rapping, all that. So being honest with you, this was the first creative thing that I can truly say that I wanted to do before anything else. The reason why all the other things ended up happening was because this dream got shot down. So just to see everything come back in full circle and all of that, it just really, really speaks volumes, because the main reason why I was able to kind of go back in time and pick this back up again had a lot to do with shadow work. And shadow work ain't pretty. Shadow work is not pretty. And that's what we're going to talk about in this particular podcast. This is something that I've wanted to talk about for a while now, for a couple years, but I just felt like at the time that I really wanted to talk about it, I felt like it wasn't time yet. I felt like I really kind of just started on my shadow work journey, and I wanted to kind of go through more things and experience more things before I came out with this particular podcast. And also, I kind of vowed to not talk about certain things while I'm in it. So, you know, that's why this is going to be very important. A lot of these things I'm going to elaborate even more once I come out with the Shadow PC lecture, which is the next thing that I want to do after I come out with this series talking about the Divine Nine and all of that. It's so much. It's so much this year that I want to drop. So many things I want to do. You know, that's why, you know, Virgo, health. I got to keep my health together. I got to keep my body in shape, all those type of things, because it's just so much that I want to accomplish. It's just so much that I want to do. And I hope that you all will be every step of the way, like you all have, my day ones, all of that. So before I get into that, I kind of want to go back, and I want to talk about everything that led up to this particular moment in time, because the last time y'all saw me, it was a couple days before Christmas Eve. I dropped a really, really powerful live stream, and I was talking about the stock market and all that type of stuff. And being honest with you, another reason why I took this hiatus is because literally back in October, around that time when I came back from Miami to Orlando, everything from the live stream that I did about the Beyonce effect all the way down is pretty much everything that's been going on now. I remember in my live streams, I would tell you all, I'll be like, I'm already in 2023. You know, I'm already talking about the things that's going to be going on in the next year and stuff like that. And even back then, when I would get these transmissions and I would be spiritually getting, what should I put in the title? What should I put in the thumbnail? And all that type of stuff. And I would kind of be questioning my higher self. I'll be questioning my inner child. Like, you know, if I name it this, it's not going to get a lot of views. You know, if I name it, if I put this thumbnail, or if I say it like this, or if I do it like this, it's not going to get the viewership, and it's not going to get the popularity that it would get if I just came on out and said certain key phrases or certain words and certain pictures and all that type of stuff. I didn't even realize about the new policies and the new stuff that YouTube has added, because all that stuff came out before these videos, before these live streams. And so now, looking back in retrospect, now everything makes so much sense why I coded everything the way I did. So during that time, I pretty much told y'all everything that was going to go down. So I appreciate all of the Soul family, the few of y'all who were in the chats, in those live streams, the few of y'all who watched those videos and stuff like that, because, you know, y'all were ahead of the curve. You know, if you listen to my live streams and you heeded the messages and all that type of stuff, you know, you were ahead of the curve. You know, you already knew all this stuff now that's going on now. You already knew it. Like, you already, even if you were someone who's not particularly conscious, but you came across my video, you'll be like, oh, okay, you know, this, so this is what Mr.BandClap was talking about in that video. Like, oh, okay, you know. So I just remember the night before I decided that I was going to make this drive back to Memphis. And I was just sitting up. I couldn't really sleep because it was like I knew that something was going to go down. And half of me was like, am I really making the right decision to make this trip back to Memphis? I was really, really questioning myself. And the other half of me was like, well, you got to go. You know, you got to go, because I had to go back to Memphis anyway so I can renew my tags, because I got Tennessee tags on my truck. So I had to renew my tags. In Tennessee, we got these new tags. So I had to do that. I had to pay for my registration and all that stuff. So if I would have stayed in Florida, I would have ended up getting in trouble for my tags being out. Since it's a Tennessee tag, you know, I needed to go there in person in order for me to get that. So either way, I knew that I had to make this trip, but I just felt a real eerie feeling about it. And then the morning of, I remember my mom hitting me up and telling me that she had a vision, that she saw like a version of me as a child coming back home. And that's how she knew that that was going to be the day that I was going to leave out. So that was kind of like, okay. And then as I was getting my truck ready and cleaning everything out and getting everything ready for me to go, I remember Dolo the Pilot Man. He was making this video just talking about the energies and stuff that's going on. And he was like, I forgot what particular alignment that he was talking about, but in other words, he was talking about, you know, shit is about to hit the fan in some type of way. And he was like, you know, you got a few hours, you got like 2 or 3 hours before anything happens, but y'all need to get ready. So I'm like, okay, you know, I kind of brushed it off, gassed up, got everything ready. I ended up getting right outside of Valdosta. You know, I passed Florida. I got right outside of Valdosta, you know, around that 4.5 hour mark, you know, just around the time that Dolo was saying. I got to Sylvester, Georgia. And it was weird. Like, I was driving, all of a sudden my heat went out, and I'm like, you know, what's going on? Then I started to kind of feel my car getting slower and slower and slower. And right when I was about to pull over, my car just stopped. And the dreaded thing happened. I started seeing smoke. I'm like, wow, you know, I knew it was over. And I was trying my best not to be frantic, because I don't have no type of roadside assistance or anything like that. I'm super, super far away from anybody that I know. And you know, there was like this little store by where I was at. I tried to ask them for help. You know, they didn't have anything to help me. I saw that all of my antifreeze was out. So I'm like, yo, that's weird. Like, in Florida, I've never had to change this antifreeze out. So there was like some old antifreeze in there. And as soon as I hit that Georgia-Florida line, it got extremely, extremely cold. So, you know, I thought maybe that was why my truck broke down. So I had like a little bit of coolant in my car. So I put that in there. I was able to get to a Family Dollar, and I asked them, did they have any coolant? I was able to get 1 bottle. That's all they had. And I tried my best to drive. I probably got a couple miles away from that Family Dollar, and my truck ended up stopping again. You know, I was looking at the temperature. The temperature was super, super high. And so I stopped on the side of the road next to this house in Sylvester. So, you know, at this point, I'm stranded. I don't know what to do. So I ran over to the house. It was a super, super risk, you know, because around this part of Georgia, you just don't know. You know, this ain't the black part of Georgia. So it was a huge risk, but I didn't really have any type of, you know, I didn't have no other choice at the time. So I ended up going to the house that was over there. This lady answered the door. I told her my situation. I had to wait a little bit for her husband to get there. And long story short, that's when I found out the terrible news that my car had a broken head gasket. It had a bad head gasket because when I took the dipstick out of the oil was real milky. And, you know, he was like, you don't need to drive that truck no more because the motor's going to lock up, all these different things. So I'm just frantic, like, I don't know what to do. And that's when I made that infamous video that y'all see, you know. And it was kind of like a downhill spiral for me, mentally and emotionally during that time. It was just like everything that I had planned, everything was just going down the drain, at that second. And I really, really have to thank and sincerely send my gratitude to every single one of y'all who donated because when I tell y'all, y'all were a lifesaver. I appreciate y'all so much. Y'all know who y'all are. The few of you all who donated to my Cash App, the couple of you all who donated to my PayPal, y'all were very, very instrumental in giving me a way out, because with the donations that you all were able to give me, I was able to call up one of my friends from Memphis, and I was able to give him the gas money to drive from Memphis all the way to where I was at in Sylvester, which is like 5 or 6 hours. It was a drive, and I was able to pay my other friend, you know, who lives in Atlanta. You know, shout out to Ty Gemini, shout out to Godfather Tank D over there at the Living Black Life podcast, and he was able to you know, give me a ride back to his place. You know, we spent the night there, had a lot of fun. It's crazy how things turn out, because the last time that the three of us were together and stuff like that was around 2014, 2015. So it's crazy. It's crazy how I can have a unfortunate, real messed up, unfortunate situation happen to me, but in my misfortune, I was able to bring us all together in one place. Something that, you know, when I was in Miami, back in like August, September of last year, you know, my homeboy Ty, he was like, yo, it'll be real dope if we could all bring in Christmas together, you know, all bring in New Year's together. So it's crazy how he was right. You know, we were able to bring the holidays in together, even though it wasn't quite how I expected that it was going to go. So, you know, that was really dope, you know. So I was able to get back to Memphis. And spend the holidays with my family and all that type of stuff. And a few days later, because I still had some money left over from the donations and stuff like that. So me and Ty, we ended up making a second trip back to Georgia, because I heard about this fix seal type of stuff that you can put in your radiator, and you know, that should fix the broken head gasket or whatever. So I was on this hunch, and I was like, yo, it's gotta work, all of that. So he ended up driving me all the way back to Georgia, back to Sylvester. And as you can see here, you know, I was able to crank the car up. You know, it seemed like everything was gonna work. All right, y'all, so this is part 2. You know, we back, got some things that we're gonna try. As you come back, I'm draining out this oil. As you can see, shit is real milky in there. So I went online and I saw that you can get some of this right here. Some of this bars, block seal, head gasket fix. This is what I saw online while I was at home in Memphis. So we back in Georgia, good old Sylvester. Draining my oil right now. Got some new oil, got the new filter. So we about to do this, and I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna be back with the update. As you can see down there, that oil is coming on out. All right, so we did the instructions. It's on. We gotta run for 15 minutes on idle. Gotta run for 15 minutes on idle. We got a ladybug on the truck, man. That's good luck. Ladybug, come on. But I feel like we ended up leaving before it really had time to sit in, you know, to sink in. You know, I took the oil and it was back milky again. And at this time, you know, we didn't really have any more time to mess around with it and stuff like that. So it was a very, very sad goodbye to my truck, because at this time I done ran out of money. I need to start working, trying to get a job, trying to get something. So that was pretty much over. It was pretty much over after that. A lot of withdrawal because and y'all are gonna realize why as I go into the shadow work ain't pretty part. But yeah, that truck, it really, really meant a lot to me. And, just me leaving it like that in the state that it was in, it was really hard. It was really hard. I had to go back to a type of place that I never said that I was ever going to go back to, which meant now I got to depend on other people to help me out. I got to depend on my dad driving me places. His car isn't the best. Depend on other people taking me places, stuff that I never ever wanted to put myself in. And that's the reason why I got my truck in the first place. But again, this situation really taught me about family. It really taught me about, treating people right when you have it all, because you never know when you're going to lose it, and you got to go back to those people, and you don't want people to have a bad taste in their mouth dealing with you. So always, one thing that this situation taught me is to always treat people with respect, always treat people right, even when you feel like you'll never need them again, because you never know. Things can get taken away in an instant, and now you're in a situation where you need somebody, and when you was on the top, you were treating everybody wrong, and now nobody wants to deal with you, nobody wants to help. So that's what that situation taught me. Now, spiritually, during this time, we were in Capricorn season, Orisha astrology wise, even though I wasn't able to talk about it then because I was in such a low place in my life. I was starting to see more innovations when it came to technology and all of that, which has a lot to do with Ogun. I also knew that there was going to be a lot of situations media-wise talking about women getting abused. All of this stuff is just ancient Orisha stories just being played out by people over and over and over. So it's like when you learn these Orisha patakis and then you use the astrology as a measuring tool, you can pretty much predict a lot of the things that's going on, because what you're going to learn, as we keep going along, these soulless beings, it's like a robot. It's a script. There's a script that's being played. There's a script. Even when you're computer programming, is something called a script that you have to write. JavaScript. All that type of stuff. And they very, very seldomly deviate from that script. So we're given an empty religion so that we can't be ahead of the game as far as deciphering what's going on with the script. So, in my low times, I'm seeing all of this stuff that's going on. And at the time, I'm still working. I'm still trying to be faithful to the gigs that I scheduled for myself and all of that. Ty was able to take me to Nashville, and so I was still able to do that gig, and then from then even on out now, I've been doing gigs at the FedEx Forum and stuff like that to keep money in my pocket. So it didn't take me long to get me a rental car. I can't go long without driving. And also, even though I wanted to use this money to try to get my truck sent back from Georgia, my dad had a very, very major surgery that he had to do. And, this is going to mean that he's going to be out of commission for a month or so, or even more than that. So I needed to get something right now so that I can get to work, so I can take my dad to the doctor, get his medicine, all that type of stuff, being able to take care of things around the house. So I made the executive decision to take that money and get me a rental. My dad ended up having his surgery, and that was another low time. That was another low time for me, because it kind of really put things into perspective, in a sense of, my parents are getting old, and a lot of things, when you're young, and a lot of ways that you think about your parents when you're young, you would never think that you would ever be in a situation to where the shoes are on the other foot. When you're young and when you're seeing your parents, and you never would think that you would ever be in a situation to where now your parents are old and you have to take care of them as if now they're the children and you're the parent. And, they expect for you to have that same type of love for them that they had for you, because they raised you and all of that. And that was hard. Like, even now as I'm making this recording, because my dad had a lot of complications with that surgery. So, he's been, even though he's doing a lot better, he still has his pain and has different things that he's going through where I have to help him out and all of that. It was real hard. And what I can truly say is the only thing that truly has been able to help me throughout this whole situation is Eshu's World. During this time, you know, since I really can't do too much because I have to stay at home and take care of my dad and help out my mom, when she needs help and all of that. I've just been having a lot of time where I'm at home, So during this time, since I've been at home, this gives me all of the time in the world to be as meticulous as I want to with this Eshu's World. So that's the reason why when you see that particular episode, not only does it look 1,000 times better than episode 2, a lot of the little things like the emotions, like the particular animations, like the sound design, like the music, I was able to use this time being at home to really put into that. So, I can't even lie. That's really what's been keeping me sane all of this time, especially since I haven't been able to make any videos and talk to you all and all that type of stuff, which is another thing that I do to relieve stress, to get certain thoughts out and all of that stuff, because during these last couple months, even though I've been silent from YouTube, I've been talking to my soul family on Instagram. Y'all have been telling me about the different things that y'all been going through. And, that's been helping me out as well, because it shows me that I'm not the only one out here that's going through things. There's people out here that's going through way worse than what I'm going through. So it's like, even though I'm going through what I'm going through, I still have to be grateful and I still have to be thankful, because it could have been worse. It could have been worse and it could be worse. So like my dad always say, you got to count your blessings. And that's the main thing that I've been doing. So at first I was thinking, I was like, what's the first video that I want to come out with after I finish with this Eshu's World? And I was gearing up for the Divine 9. I was gearing up to do that live stream first. I ended up having a real crazy dream. I ended up having a real crazy dream about the AKA. I already had one about the Zeta. It's one thing that I'm learning about myself. The more and more I do this shadow work, the more and more I get in touch with my inner child, and and I learned that my inner child is my higher self. So when I say higher self and when I say inner child, they're interchangeable. It's one and the same. With me being a Eshu, the Virgo Eshu, because there are many different versions of Eshu, but the Virgo Eshu, it represents the purest form of the childlike Peter Pan type of energy that is also independent, but it's also very well connected. Now the Gemini, that part of me, the Legba part of me, that's kind of like the job that I have. So well connected when it comes to certain information, that's what they translate to, which means that the more I ask certain questions and I feel in my heart, this is something in my heart that I really want to do. There's no type of information, and this is something that I'm learning about myself now. There's no type of information that I can't get, as long as it's something deep down in my heart that I really want to know, and I have a innocent reason why I want to know this information. So when it comes to this Divine 9 that I'm going to do, not only have I gotten emails and stuff like that from ex members of these sororities and stuff like that, it's getting to the point now where I'm even astrally and spiritually going into the ethers, getting certain information and all that type of stuff. So I just want to let y'all know, when I'm doing this, I'm not talking out the side of my neck. I'm not going to talk about this the way that everybody else is going to talk about it. So I can't wait to do that. But my higher self been talking to me and be like, yo, you need to go ahead now and do the shadow work Ain't Pretty, because you was like, I didn't want to do it while I was in my truck. I didn't want to do it. So now it's almost like, okay, so now it's time for you to do it. That's how things work. So as I always do, I ask my higher self, I'm like, okay, so how am I going to tackle this subject? Because I got like 1 or 2 stories, but I'm like, okay, but how am I going to tackle this subject? Because ever since 2018, 2019, when I dropped the Getting to Know Your Inner Child, even in 2020, when I had my shadow work class that was on the Spiritual Ascension University, I've been hearing a lot of people on YouTube now talking about shadow work, and even on TikTok, even on Instagram Reels. I'm starting to hear a lot of people talk about inner child now. I'm starting to hear a lot of people talk about shadow work now and all of that. So a lot of these words that we're starting to use, and a lot of the different phrases that we've been using and stuff like that, it's kind of like everything else. When it's underground and when it's sacred, the narrative is pure, you know, is more pure, and it's easily for it to be controlled in a righteous type of way. But just like everything else, once things get too mainstream, now you start seeing things get misconstrued, you start to see things get corrupted, and you start to see a lot of wild and crazy definitions, aka making something simple so extremely complicated. And it's funny because that was the main reason why I even started talking about the different things that I was going through, and talking about getting to know your inner child and talking about shadow work, is because of this is something that I've always seen ever since I came into consciousness around 2014, 2015. So my answer came to me during the Leo full moon. As y'all know, the Leo full moon, this was a very, very powerful Leo full moon. Now, when I talk about the baby Oshun, at least the baby Oshun in Eshu's world, she represents the Leo baby Oshun. And during that full moon, all of the baby Oshuns that I'm still cool with, all of that, they've been hitting me up, telling me about the powerful things that's been going on in their life during this full moon and all of that. So I knew I was going to get something powerful. I felt it. And sure enough, I went to sleep and I had this really, really crazy dream. And as y'all know, ever since 2021, you know, I start to have these real prophetic dreams, and these prophetic dreams end up turning into what I want to talk about. So in this dream, again, I was back in my childhood home, you know, the home I'm in now, but I could tell that it was a different dimension. For a while now, I've been having these dreams where I'll be in this particular world, but small little details would be omitted. You know, I remember a long time ago, I had a dream to where I was in a world and everything looked exactly the way it does now. The only thing different was the group, the Silvers, were who the Jackson 5 is in this world. And Michael Jackson in this world was who Olivia Silvers was in that world. Little things like that. So last week, I've been having these dreams. I had one dream to where I was in Nashville in this particular dimension, in this particular world. My truck didn't stop in Georgia. It stopped on my way to Nashville. And in the dream, it was just a hose that went bad. So I was able to get the hose and put it on, and everything was cool. And I remember I was at the hotel. I ran out to the parking lot and my truck was there, and I sprinted, like I ran to it. And as soon as I saw my truck, I kind of had this deja vu where my mind kicked in, where I was like, oh wait, I'm in a dream. You know, this isn't real. And I remember I had my key in my pocket. I went to my truck, I cranked it up, and I started crying in the dream, because I'm like, this isn't how it happened in my real life. In my real life, my truck is in Georgia. And so I remember I started to pray, and I was like, I don't know if you can hear me in this reality. When I open up my eyes, I wake up, I'm not going to have this truck anymore. It's going to be in Georgia, you know. And I was like, please help me get a vehicle. Please help me get a vehicle. And I ended up waking up. I ended up having another dream. And in that dream, I was at a funeral and my uncle was there. And then in this life, my homeboy, one of his family members, I think like his cousin, passed away or something like that. And he was going to a funeral. And then I had another dream where I had a car, and I went over somebody's house. I went somewhere, and then I went outside and the car was stolen. And then when I woke up in this reality, somebody that I'm real close to, that I know, his car got stolen. Little things like that. So in this dream that I really want to anchor this shadow work ain't pretty to. So this kind of put it into perspective a little more about why shadow work, especially right now, is so important. And y'all got to think about it. You know, when something in the world, when something is real important, and you're seeing a lot of people in the underground, you know, they've been talking about this. This is something that really needs to be done in this time. You start to see the industry, you start to see the media, the soulless beings, start to overinflate those terms or overinflate the message to the point where the message starts to get corrupted. So just like I'm saying, you know, you're hearing a lot of people talk about inner child healing. You know, you're hearing a lot of people talk about therapy, all that type of stuff. And I'm hearing a lot of manosphere channels talk about how therapy, you know, when it comes to men, you just need to suck it up. You just need to be a man. You know, you don't need, therapy is for women. Like, I'm hearing a lot of like weird, crazy stuff, but on the flip side, I'm also seeing a lot of crazy situations going on, like the situation that just happened recently, where you have these men doing crazy things, unaliving themselves and others, and just like a lot of things, to where you can clearly ascertain that if they had the right therapy, if they didn't grow up in this world to where you're taught that, therapy isn't right, therapy is, for pussies and all these different things, maybe they wouldn't, have all of this trauma inside of them for that to come out in the way that it did. So in this dream, I'm in my childhood home, but I remember I looked outside, and this time the world was different, because remember, I'm in Memphis. Remember, used to be a Egypt type of city, Memphis, Egypt. Different archaeologists and historians are now proving that the Egypt that a lot of us know in the Bible and a lot of those things was here in the United States. A lot of hidden information is showing that a lot of ancient artifacts, a lot of ancient things are being unearthed here. A lot of us thought that this stuff was in Africa. A lot of us thought that this stuff was overseas, but a lot of it is here. And in this dream, when I looked outside, everything was different. Now, inside, it looked just like my childhood home, when I was a kid. But when I looked outside, the city was different. It was like an ancient city, but it wasn't. It was hard for me to keep the image in my head because of all of the BS that we've been taught about how we used to live and what we used to do. So a lot of the stuff that I was seeing when I went outside, it was so abstract. It was so out of the ordinary to what I've been taught that it was hard for me to keep the image in my head. So what I remember was my family was a part of the family that was responsible for creating the illusionary matrix world that we were going to end up going into. I don't know. I really don't know how to explain it more than that. But that's how it was. In this dream, we were all preparing for something. It was like an opposite. So right now we're going through a great awakening. In this dream, we were going through a great sleep. There was a corrupt system that was going on. I don't know what to call the the higher principality powers, but there was an agreement that was made that a lot of us agreed to come down and power this simulation, the world that we're in now. We agreed to come down and power this world because it was necessary, and to do it, it was kind of like a Assassin's Creed type of situation, to where it was like you jacked into this animus type of thing, and then you went into a real deep sleep, and then you woke up and you was in this matrix. Like, you started out as a baby and you lived your life like it was just like that. and this was an agreement that was made. Now there was a lot of corrupt stuff that ended up. It's kind of like a contract that's being drawn up, and you're told all the things in the front of the contract, but then there's a lot of fine print you don't really know about. They don't really tell you, but it's there, but you don't realize about the fine print until you're already in too deep, so that's what it was. So since I was a part of the family that was responsible for creating this matrix or whatever, I was kind of able to access the memories that I had. It was just like Assassin's Creed. I was able to access, and this is something that the more I've came into knowing myself, shout out to Brother Sanchez, and other spiritual teachers who talked about how, we have at least 7 versions of ourselves. We got different versions of ourselves in different dimensions and stuff like that. And we're all connected to this one central version of ourselves. The more I've been doing my shadow work, the more I've been able to control my dreams and stuff like that, the more I'm able to connect to a lot of those other different versions of myself. And I think this version that I tapped into was one of the first versions of myself, before the split. Because I remember, before I had this dream, it was like, I can't even explain to y'all how deep of a sleep that I went into, like how tired I was. I was extremely tired. And when I closed my eyes, it was like I jacked into this reality. And I know that, if I was in my truck, there's no way I would have been able to go this deep into sleep. If you got a job and you got to wake up early in the morning, if you have a I sleep when I die type of attitude, you won't be able to go that deep into a sleep where you can end up where I ended up, because this was like right before everything happened. And two, the crazy part about it is Brother Sanchez, he's been doing live streams, you know, talking about how the ancient Egyptians, you know, they were the first ones to do holographic projections, and the first ones to do you know, avatars and all of that type of stuff. And that's what we are, you know. So in this dream, I was able to access my memories. And while I'm able to access my memories, I'm remembering that all the different elements that was in this illusion, like the whole plan, you know, and how the television was created, the reason why it was created, the reason why the media was created, but on a spiritual level. Because what I truly believe is that whatever I was dreaming about, whatever this high principality spiritual force that I was dreaming about, they have different avatars that they connect to down here, you know, different ways to connect the different people down here. And these are the quote unquote, this is the information that the quote unquote secret societies use this information to run the world. But it started in high places before it came down here. You know, just like how you got to have a thought in order for you to do something, to build something down here. It's already made in another realm, and then you think about it, and then you're able to use the resources and stuff like that to build it. You know, I hope y'all can get what I'm saying. So in this dream, we were putting the finishing touches on the AI that is pretty much coming to pass right now before our eyes, that we don't even realize what's really going on. It was crazy. It was like, you know, you had the TV, and then there was like this news program that was going on the TV. Now, in the dream, not only could you see what was on the TV, it was like a portal, because it wasn't what's in the physical world. It was like the energy. It was like the energy that's being portrayed from what's in the physical world, but it started here first. So, you know, I saw the newscasters that was on the TV, but then I was able to see what was behind the newscasters, and there was like these cords that was connected to their backs, and then that was plugged in to a different type of source, and it was like a 5D projection that was being shown on the TV, you know. And the thing about it was like, as long as you're looking at it from the front, you wouldn't notice. And also, as long as you didn't know what it was like a hypnotizing thing that was going on. And this was all created. Like, if you didn't believe in what you saw in the TV, you could look behind what was being shown on the TV, and you can see that it was like a 5D projection. But the more and more and more you believed that it was real, the more you couldn't see behind it, you know. And also, there was like this test that we was doing to the mind. It was like a mind test, you know. So it was like, the more you believed it, the more it was able to hijack your mind, and then it was like a mind control. Like, this is all in this dream. So it was like everything in this dream was what's going on right now, you know. Because at the end of the day, the way we looked at it as, you know, we were like these you know, real powerful groups of people, and we wanted to test ourselves. We wanted to test and see how powerful our minds really are, and all of that type of stuff. So we created this matrix to really prove to ourselves how powerful and how much of God that we really are. You know, that's the best way to kind of explain it. So but there was a fail-safe. There was a fail-safe, and if you remember this fail-safe, then you can get out. So what the fail-safe was, and it's funny because I don't know why this is the way it was, but I remember during this, I had my headphones on and I was listening to a Tariq Nasheed video. I don't know why that had anything to do with my dream, but in this dream, I had my headphones on and I was listening to Tariq Nasheed. Now, side note, I want to give him a shout out, definitely, because a lot of what I'm doing now with Eshu's World, I've gotten a lot of inspiration from Tariq. I remember when I first came to Atlanta in 2013, actually in 2012, one of my college buddies ended up putting me on to his channel or whatever. And this is back when he was making, you know, Mac lessons videos and stuff like that. And he had like this website that he had all of his shows and stuff on. And so when I was going through what I was going through in 2013, you know, when I was homeless and stuff like that, you know, a lot of what got me through was listening to his live streams, you know, listening to his, you know, I would download his videos, Mac Lessons videos and watch them. And then, you know, later on, I ended up getting his books and all that type of stuff. And, you know, me just seeing the progress of everything that, you know, he set out to do, even the things that he failed at, and, you know, the things that he tried and the things that he failed at, and, you know, how he, not only how he persevered, but also how he had the support of the people, you know, that really stuck with me. So this recent venture, you know, him creating this hidden history museum, and I'm seeing a lot of negativity about it, but at the end of the day, you know, this may be what his calling is to do. Just like with me, you know, somebody could be like, yo, you should make a whole movie channel with nothing but black movies or all this, you know, or whatever. But at the end of the day, for me right now, Eshu's World is what I want to give. So him doing that, you know, is really motivating, just to see how someone can say they're going to do something, they can get the support of the people to raise the money and donate, and then, you know, he does what he says he's going to do with the money. You know, even though certain things aren't 100% like he said, you know, because at the end of the day, we live in this system, you know, to where, you know, there were certain things that was out of his control, where he couldn't get certain other buildings or certain places and, you know, stuff like that. So I just wanted to shout him out, because a lot of what I'm doing with my brand, a lot of what I'm doing, you know, is because of seeing how he moves and seeing how he takes care of business, you know, that actually helped me out. Now, one thing that not only Tariq Nasheed, but for a lot of us, we've been talking about reparations for foundational Black Americans and things like that. And with this dream I had, it was very, very telling, because me having access to my memories, it's a lot of stuff about this Black history that's just not true. You know, a lot of stuff that's just not true. You know, we've already found out through history that there was a whole lot of white-skinned people that were slaves. And we're already finding out that, at least in America, a lot of the black-skinned people that you see that were slaves and that went through different things, you know, a lot of these people were freemans. You know, a lot of these people were people that were free, but they were manipulated. They were manipulated. They were taken away from their environment and forced to be slaves and forced to be in certain situations. And it even goes deeper than that, you know, especially when you find out that, you know, knowing or unknowingly, it was a lot of us that gave each other to them. You know, it's just a lot of misinformation, a lot of misconceptions about what you've been taught, you know, during this month is just not right. A lot of what's going on with us, there are black-skinned people in high places who had a lot to do with it. I'm gonna say it like that. There was a lot of black-skinned people, because I'm gonna just start saying black-skinned people and white-skinned people, because, you know, when you find out who's really what black and white truly means, you know, even that was a part of this illusion, you know, that was created. There was a lot of black-skinned people in high places that had a lot to do with reverse engineering our greatness. I'm gonna say it like that. Not only reverse engineering our greatness, but also keeping us in this particular situation that we're in now. So in this dream, I was listening to Tariq Nasheed, and my mom and dad, you know, they were frantically preparing. You know, we were preparing for the great sleep. You know, the great sleep, where it was like this thing that we all agreed to do. There were some of us that helped program this. There were some of us, you know, we knew what was going on. And there were even some of us, even in this dimension, that didn't believe what was going to happen, didn't believe that what was going to happen was going to happen, because we were on top for so long. We never expected that certain things was going to go down the way it did. So we got so good. We got so good at this 5D, 6D. I don't even know what to call it at this point. We were so good at these holographic projections that we was able to make different things appear, you know, out of nowhere, you know, different monstrous things. And if you didn't know that it was real, it was like the same type of magical sorcery or whatever. It's like, if you didn't know it was real, then it can't hurt you. But if you believed in your being that it was real, then it could harm you, it could hurt you, all that type of stuff. So a part of this great sleep had to deal with a invasion of these holographic projection beings being sent out into the world, into this you know, into this place, to this city or whatever. and they were knocking door to door. They were going door to door, like Jehovah's Witness and stuff like that, and they appeared as, you know, different characters in this dimension, different angels, characters that you were taught that were the good guys. I'm gonna say it like that. And if you opened up your door, you were already telling these holographic projection robot AI things that you wasn't up on game, and you got usurped, and you got put into a deep sleep, and you ended up beaming yourself into like this purgatory type of place, and then you ended up in that simulated matrix as a baby, and then you had to grow up, and your memory got wiped. You know, your memory got wiped. So in this world, in this dimension that I was in the dream, I was real pissed off. I was real pissed off because I'm like, you know, I didn't like that. I didn't like the way that things were created. You know, I didn't like the way things, you know, but I was like an Eshu character. I was like an Eshu character in this dream, because it was like my family was a part of the family that knew what was going on. And we were kind of like rebellious. We were kind of like rebellious of everything, even though we knew what was going on. And we had a fail safe. I don't know if, but then as time went on in this, you know, matrix, you know, different things in this matrix was created to keep you from remembering this. So every person, you know, that was in this city or whatever, we had these things called freedom papers, and these freedom papers, you know, it was in like this vanilla envelope, and you know, these freedom papers were very, very important. You know, we were told to put these freedom papers somewhere where you know that they're at, and don't lose them. So when this AI robot holographic projection angel demon whatever you want to call it, when they knocked on your door, the freedom papers, it was like a placebo. It was like a mental thing. Like, this was all mental, all mind type stuff, because the freedom papers, it was like a mental thing where you knew, like, I'm free, you know, I'm free, and this isn't real or whatever. Because I think what I'm thinking is, you know, these holographic projection things, they came to your door to put you into slavery or something like that, because it's as above, so below. So this actually happened in the olden times, you know. And you know, you having these freedom papers is like a spiritual thing. Like, I know I'm free, so you can't, you know, so what you're saying isn't real, because I know I'm free. Now, I think these freedom papers, you know, we got these a long time ago. So a lot of people, they lost their papers. A lot of people, they might have threw their papers away because they didn't believe that this would ever happen. So, you know, when that you know, Grim Reaper type thing, when it knocked on your door and you didn't have those freedom papers, and you lost them, or you didn't believe that it would happen, you were fresh meat, and you got. And what happened was, you ended up getting abducted, and you ended up getting put into the matrix, you know. And that's when this world became a prison. It became a prison. So my mom and dad, you know, they felt like that they lost the freedom papers. They knew it was somewhere in this house. And I feel like that was the reason why I've always had, even when I'm away from home, every time I have a dream, it always starts off in my childhood home. So my mom and dad, they felt lost, like, because they didn't know where the freedom papers were at. So they're frantically looking around. And so when I came back home, it was like I knew, as you know, my mind was clear. You know, with me doing you know, my shadow work, you know, I was even doing that in that dimension. You know, so my mind was clear. And when your mind is clear, you can access different memories and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, they're right here. You know, it was like a cabinet. I went on top of the cabinet, and there was like a bunch of garbage, like a bunch of garbage bags, like plastic garbage bags. And inside the plastic garbage bags, the freedom papers were in there. So I'm like, yo, like, I got them. But the thing about it was, my mom and dad, because once I touched the freedom papers, and as I was removing the garbage bags away from them, I started to get more and more and more of my memories. And the more of the memories that I was able to access, the madder and madder and madder I got, until when I woke up from the dream, it was like I was my old self. My old self when I was in the world of Virgo, when I had that real bad temper, and you know, I played with knives. I had a real bad temper. I cussed a whole lot, and I had these 2 crystal knives, and I was stabbed with them. to the point where I almost got into it with one of my coworkers. Like I really had to like calm myself down because of how mad I was, you know, and it leads me to believe that I really didn't want to come back here, but I had to. I really didn't want to come back here because I already knew about the things that I was going to have to go through, because in that dimension, my mom and dad ended up getting abducted, because even though, you know, we had our freedom papers, my mom and dad, you know, like my dad hid them, you know, so good in the house that when it was time for them to be produced, he forgot where they were at. You know, he forgot where the freedom papers were at, and they ended up getting abducted. Now me, since I was able to retrieve the freedom papers, you know, I was safe. Like I was good, you know, because I remembered where they were. Like I remembered everything, you know, I remember everything. And I feel like now with me having that dream, I feel like I chose to come here, and it had a lot to do with that. You know, it had a lot to do with that. So, when we're talking about reparations, you know, because you have a lot of people in the spiritual community, they're like, you know, why are we talking about reparations in the form of money and all that type of stuff? So, as above, so below. There's a reason why this government don't want to give black-skinned people reparations, because it's something that Bobby Hemmett, something that he said when he was like, the reason why the government don't want to put black people in a dire situation where it's like we don't know how we're going to get out. It's because it's something inside of us that if we ever get to that situation, it'll wake up inside of us, and we'll snap back online. And they don't know how to handle the type of immense power that'll come from us when we feel like we're in that type of situation. Now, there's a flip side to that. The flip side is, if too many of us on a large scale feel free, you know, we feel completely free, we feel completely unhinged, you know, all that type of stuff, there's going to be a high vibrational surge that's going to go up to the ethers, and we're going to transform into something as well. So it's always been a ploy to keep a slavery type of mindset, whether it's mental slavery, whether it's relationship slavery, whether it's spiritual slavery. There's always been a ploy to keep us in a slavery type of situation, to keep us in a sleep state, you know. And this isn't something that I'm just talking about. A lot of spiritual teachers of old have talked about it. It's just that with me having this dream, I'm now able to understand even more about the deception, because that's what it was. It was a deception, you know. It was something that we agreed to do because we had to come here in order to power the matrix. It's almost like how a game developer, you got to play your game. You know, the development team, they got to play their game, and they got to play it out in order for them to make sure that there's no bugs in the game. You know, in order for them to make sure that everything works the way it's intended to, and all of that type of stuff. You know, you got to look at it like that. You know, we're like in a super advanced VR game, like a super extremely advanced Assassin's Creed game. But see, the issue is when you went into your sleep, and you jacked into the game, it's like there was someone broke into your house and reprogrammed the game to where it's like an infinite number of spawns. And instead of you getting to the part of the game where you learn that you're in a simulation and you know what to do so you can get out, they put that part in a wall, you know, like a paywall. And then they put a artificial currency on that paywall to where, you know, kind of like how you got to sell your soul to make it to Hollywood. You know, you gotta put yourself under so much stress and under so much scrutiny and all that type of stuff. You know, trying to get the truth. You know, trying to get the truth about who you are. Trying to get the truth about, you know, how do I get out of this, you know, world? You know, things like that. To where when you finally figure it out, it's on your dying breath, and then it's too late for you to continue and get out, and then you end up in an infinite respawn loop. You know, coming back, losing your memories, having to live this life. You know, all of that. So just like how the freedom papers was like a placebo, the reparations with money, the money reparations are like the freedom papers in my dream. You know, it's not necessarily the money that the government is scared of when it comes to giving us reparations. It's a mental freedom, It's a spiritual freedom that you get when you have a lot of money and you didn't have to sacrifice your mom. You know, you didn't have to, like that song For the Love of Money. You know, some people will kill their own brother. You know, some people will sacrifice their own mother. You know, imagine if you were someone and you still got your youth, you know, you still got your energy to where you can make different changes in the world, and you just got blessed with a lump sum of money. And, you know, it's enough money to where you can buy all the things that you want. You know, you can make all the type of changes that you want, just like if you were a developer and you went into the VR game, but you're a developer. So you not only do you remember that you're in a game, you have all of your powers where you can make changes within the game. You know, for us, Soul Family, that's who we were at one point in time. You know, that's who we were. And just like how in different games you have certain collectibles and stuff like that you get in the game, and these collectibles, you know, they empower you. You know, these collectibles empower you, and it reminds you about the creators of the game, and it reminds you about how to get out of the game. You know, it gives you different tips and tricks and all that type of stuff. Well, that's what the artifacts that are being held up in the Vatican are. You know, all the artifacts that you know, that these soulless beings went into the pyramids and you know, destroyed different things and burnt up different things, and you know, that's what that is. But the one failsafe that we still have, that the system of soulless beings, they can't really take it from you, but they can distract you so much. And right now, this is what they're working on right now, is as above, so below. They can put you so much into a trance to where you forget that you have this. The last failsafe is in your mind. Free mind. Shout out to Tim's. You know, she made this song called Free Mind. You know, if you can make your mind free enough, and this is the reason why the government don't want to give black people or black skinned people, foundational black Americans, this is the true reason why they don't want to give us reparation. It's simply because it's not necessarily because of the money, because they can just print out the money. They could just give us the money. It's the spiritual and the mental thing that comes after you get the money. Think about when you get paid and that feeling that you get when you got your check and it was more than what you expected and all of that. Now, think about how much, think about how you would feel you getting your check and you didn't have no bills to pay. You know, you didn't have no car note. You didn't have no house note. You didn't have light bill, phone bill, you know, cable bill, all these different bills, and all your bills were paid. You did this hard work. You completed the mission, and you got this money that you can spend on all the things that you want to get, and you don't got to worry about no bills. You know, think about how free you would feel. You know, think about spiritually and mentally how that would empower you, and that type of joy, that type of high vibrating joy type of energy, that also will transform us into something that these system of soulless beings, they can't control it, they can't relegate it. You know, they can't and when they get to a certain height, they can't even stop it. And that's the truth. That's truly what it is. Because once you feel free, any type of illusionary thing that tries to tell you that you're not free, that tries to scare you, that tries to tell you that you're a slave and all that type of stuff, just like in my dream, you're going to be able to see the illusion. You're going to be able to see behind it. You're going to be able to look around it, and you're going to be able to see what it's plugged into. And that's the reason why when we look at the media, when we look at everything that's being force fed to us, everything that's being fed to us is always on some low vibrational, you know, symbolic type of stuff to make you believe that you were enslaved, to make you believe that, you know, you're 3/5 of a man, you know, to make you feel that that you're nothing and all that type of stuff. And this is the type of stuff that we've been fed to since we were young, you know, different things that we've been fed to as a kid, to the point to where you become a mere shadow of the creator god or the creator goddess, the developer of this VR game that we're all in. You become a shadow of that person. Once you go on that, start to go on that journey of knowledge of self, you're going to spend damn near the rest of your life trying to become one with that shadow. And then once you become one with the shadow, and then you're able to remember who the person was, who the god or goddess was that was behind that shadow. And that's where shadow work comes in. You know, that's what getting to know your inner child. You know, that's where all of this stuff is. And this is stuff that we already did on other dimensions, you know, creating a world where you're the god, where you're the goddess. You know, this is all ancient information that we've done before. It's just that in this VR simulation, you know, just like how files can become corrupt, you know, this game became corrupt, you know, to where we've been put in an infinite loop, to where you never find out that you're actually the developer of the game. You know, you spend your whole life thinking that you're an NPC. You know, you spend your whole life thinking that you're a part of the game. And then when you finally find out that, you know, maybe I'm a developer, like maybe I was the sound designer of this game. You know, maybe I was the graphic designer of this game. You know, maybe I was the script writer of this game. Maybe I was one of the beings who helped to program this reality. It's too late. You know, you don't have enough time, because it's all about time. You don't have enough time to be able to preach that message, to let everyone else know. You know, it's a dirty job, it's a dirty game, and that's why shadow work isn't pretty. You know, shadow work ain't pretty. One of the things that I always talked about in my videos, I always talked about how the black family is God. And the more I got into my shadow work journey and stuff like that, the more I understood what black Christianity's place was. And then the more and more I got into it, especially with the dreams that I've been having and all that type of stuff, just like how I felt about the Divine Nine, you know, now I'm like, it's not what we need to be doing, especially now with the gender wars and everything that's going on, and the memories that I've been able to reclaim of myself in these other dimensions that I was in. So one of the things that I remembered in this dimension, there was still a lot of monuments. There were still a lot of different things that were created in this in the world that I was in, where it represented phallic symbols, and then there were certain buildings, there were certain things that represented the vagina, you know, different things like that. I remember the music that we know now as gospel. It was women worshiping their man, and then a lot of the like R&B, like a lot of the stuff like that, you know, it was men, and they were reflecting that love for their woman. And that's what the R&B and that's what the gospel and all of that stuff was in this dimension. And it caused such a high vibration in this world. It caused such a high vibration, and family was one of those things to where it was so important. It was so big in this dimension. And then when I wake up, you know, I'm working at this event at the FedEx Forum, and you know, there's a choir, you know, there's gospel songs being sung and stuff like that. And it's just like, I just got so mad, you know, I just got so mad because I'm like, you know, I knew it was something about this Christianity. I knew it was something about this gospel stuff that musically there's nothing like it. You know, musically there's nothing like it, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally, it was just something that I just couldn't get with the older I got, you know. And now I finally get it. The reason why it's hard for me to get with it, especially now, is because a lot of these women, you know, that I see that sing these gospel songs, and they sing them so loud and proud, talking about him, talking about in reference to God, and they say him and they say he and all of that type of stuff. And they're so emotional, you know, they're so, you know, they're praising and they're worshiping and all this type of stuff. But then these same women, they go home and they're so mean to the man that they're with, if they got a man. You know, these same women, you know, Monday through Saturday, you know, they're talking cash-ish about men, all this type of stuff. But then they'll go in church or they'll go in the choir and sing about how they love him, how they worship him, how they praise him. You have these conscious people, you know, they say the black woman is God, but when you sing these songs, you still say him. And even when we're talking about the actual songs that a lot of these gospel songs come from, they're called hymns, H-Y-M-N, you know, they're called hymns, you know. I'm to the point now where I'm like, yo, if you're a black woman, you know, because we know that when it comes to gospel, you know, all of that comes from the black woman. You know, you'll never be able to outsing a black woman in gospel. You'll never be able to outshout a black woman in gospel. You know, even when we talk about the choirs, you know, it's the black women that really, really bring that essence when we're talking about gospel. But, you know, if you're a black woman and you're indoctrinated by this Christianity and this gospel, and you can do all of this hooping and hollering and shouting and singing, talking about him, talking about God, and we know who Yahweh is, is really Satan and all of that. But then you talk about you don't need no man, but you say I need to depend on him, I need to worship him. That's hypocritical. That's hypocritical. If you're singing gospel, if you're really a Christian, if you're singing gospel, but then you don't give that same type of worship and praise to your man, to your husband, to the man that you're with, to the man that's providing for you right now, to the man that's with you right now, that's hypocritical. And let's talk about Jesus. Jesus represents the little child, the little boy, the little child that's going to be the hero one day, the Heru one day, So if you're singing about Jesus, if you're singing about Jesus, but then you mistreat your sons, you talk about abort black boys and you don't want to have a boy. I'm seeing all of these Instagram videos where you got these women and it's a gender reveal. And then as soon as they find out that they got a little boy, they mad. Oh no, they mad, they pissed off. And, I be seeing so many black boys get mistreated, all that type of stuff. How can you say you love God and you love Jesus and you don't love your black man? You don't love your black son. You don't love your black boy. Why don't you put as much love into your black boy that you put into Jesus? Why don't you put so much love into your black man, into the black man that you put into the quote unquote God you worship, especially if you say him? I haven't heard one gospel song yet. I haven't heard one song yet other than Ariana Grande, but that's not gospel, that refers to God as a sheep. So, y'all, it's still, y'all still indoctrinated, still in the matrix, still indoctrinated, and it's like now with these memories, it's like the more I see this and the more I hear this, it's like, now I see why I'm the way I am, because it's a spell, that's been put over our people. And this is what all of this stuff that I'm talking about is shadow work that's not pretty. It's not pretty, for you to turn this around and start making gospel songs, but instead of you saying God, you say your man. Instead of you saying Jesus, you're saying my son. So that's one thing. That's one thing when it comes to shadow work that we really have to do. Because like I said, we're in a 7 year, and this 7 year, this has a lot to do with completion. But what is the completion? You can't be complete without the relationship. Without a relationship. And the relationship, if you're a woman, the relationship starts with the divine masculine that is in you, and then you find that on an outward level, and you have that relationship with a man. Just like for a man, our divine feminine is our creative energy, and then the more we use our creative energy and build things out in the world, things start to reflect itself as a woman that loves what you built, and they would like to use their energy to add on to it and create a family, So I feel like if we take that, plaster that on the radio, plaster that in the media, plaster that all over, to where, you have black women and they're worshiping their husbands, and then that husband, is building a kingdom for their wife, and then both of them are worshiping their child, training up their child, rearing their child, and it's all about worship and praise. The same blueprint, the same church blueprint, but it's a family blueprint, and we turn that into the religion because that's how it used to be. That's how things used to be, where the dimension that we all came from before we decided to jack in to this matrix. The second form of shadow work that we have to start back doing, the shadow work that's not pretty. We got to take back our knowledge in terms of, teaching our children, teaching our youth. We gotta take that back, which means that, when we start doing our shadow work and, we got our journal, we're journaling, we're retrieving our memories back, we're retrieving our knowledge and stuff like that. Now it's time for us to use that to raise our kids and to give them a alternate debriefing, and this goes back to shout out to Melanie, the spirit doula. She made a video not too long ago, and she was talking about how she teaches her daughters, different things that she learned, and how, you know, her daughter, when her husband asked her, like, yo, what college you going to? And she was like, she started crying because she was like, I don't want to go to college. You know, I want to start my own business. You know, I want to do this. I want to do that. Think about how many future teachers, future physicists, you know, future spiritual healers and all of that stuff, you know, had to be indoctrinated, all because they knew at an early age what they wanted to do, what they wanted to be. But it was because of their parents who were asleep. It was because of their parents who were heavily indoctrinated. They forgot who they are and all of that. And they believed in this matrix so much that they've shot down all of their children's dreams for being, you know, who they came down here to be. You know, they're just trying to do their life path. But since you don't know that, you're shooting down their dreams. And now you're putting your children in a situation to where if they don't never turn around and go back to what they were originally supposed to be doing before they die, now they got to come back here and hope that they can get it right in another lifetime. And that's not, you know, that's not fair. That's not fair to them. So the biggest thing, the reason why this shadow work is so important is because the different lessons, the different processes and other things that we learn in our shadow work journey, the reason why we go through them is so that we can teach them. You know, we can teach the youth. We can remind them of who they are, you know, use our different tools and stuff like that so that we can teach them about, you know, and give them different avenues and different roads to where not only they can keep that, because when you're a child, especially a lot of these children coming up now, you already kind of innately know what you want to do. It's just that a lot of times your parents are the ones that discourage you, you know, because it's something that they don't understand. And we're taught to fear what we don't understand. But a lot of, you know, when you're a child and you get introduced to certain things, certain faculties starts to come online and you know what you want to do. You know what you want to be. So for us soul family that's doing the shadow work and you have children and this ain't gonna be pretty because now you have to deprogram different fear receptors and stuff like that within yourself, because depending on what your child came here to be, it might be a situation to where you got to make sure that you have some spiritual war tactics. You got to make sure that that you got some spiritual protection, because as soon as your child grows up and they really start tapping into what they're supposed to do, you know, they might end up doing something that this system of soulless beings is trying to keep from happening, because they fear the Messiah. You know, that's all the Messiah is. The Messiah is that child that was unindoctrinated and they were able to do exactly what they came down here to do. And then they can inspire others, you know, others to go for their dreams and all of that. And depending on what that dream is, as a parent, you know, you got to make sure that your spiritual protection is on point. When you're a developer in the game, you got certain cheat codes to where the projectiles that the enemies throw at you, they don't hurt. You know, you got the pitfalls and stuff like that in the game that's meant to kill you. It don't kill you, you know, because you know the cheat code. That's the same thing when you're doing the shadow work and you realize like, yo, you know, I'm a developer, you know, and you're remembering your cheat codes and all that type of stuff. It's meant for you to use that to help your children. You know, it's meant for you to use that to help the soul family members that are awakened as well, so that they're able to carry out their mission. So they're able to carry out what it is that they're supposed to do. So we have to be able to protect our children, because as you can see, what's going on in the world, you know, what's going on in the media, it always had something to do with corrupting the children. You know, all these things that's being taught in the schools, you know, all these different programs, from the cartoons to the toys to all this type of stuff, you know, it's up to us. It's up to us to create countermeasures to where we can protect our children. I remember, you know, me as a kid, we couldn't afford cable. So a lot of the programming that I watched, you know, was PBS. And, you know, PBS, it was like good, clean cartoons. You know, I'm not going to say that there wasn't no occult symbolism and stuff like that, but it was so minimal that, you know, it wasn't something that would corrupt our minds and stuff like that. And the older I get, the more I thank my parents for doing that. There was a lot of different things, at least with my family, with my parents, even though they're asleep, there are certain things that they program into their avatars. So it's like they do different things, they carried out certain things, and they may not fully realize why they did it, But me looking back over my life, I'm like, wow, I'm glad that they did these things. I'm glad that they at least remembered to do that or to do this or whatever. And a lot of you all out there are like that as well. You know, it might be certain things that you went through that you may not have understood. You know, you may thought you were abused. You may thought like certain things. And then when you go back and do your shadow work journey and you find out why certain things had to go the way they went, you start to understand and be a lot more grateful for certain things that happen, because sometimes it's because of those things that ends up being like a fail-safe to put you on this particular journey of knowledge of self, because that's what it's about. You know, shadow work is nothing but knowledge of self, but it's a knowledge of the self that you were before you jacked into this VR game. You know, because that's really what it is. It's like a VR game, you know. So in my life, this is something that I've truly been understanding about my shadow work journey and the things that I had to go through in my life in order for me to literally to get to where I am right now. I was like, yo, I need to talk about this or whatever. Oh, another thing I forgot to say, because this was before I woke up. This is before I woke up. You know, I'm like, I think I need to tell somebody about this. All of a sudden, it was like something tried to make me forget about what I just went through. It was almost like a spiritual attack. Almost. It was like I ended up going into a parallel reality of this one, where I had my rental. And I remember, you know, I thought I woke up, but I was still in the dream. And I woke up and I remember I cranked the car up. The check engine light was on. I'm like, huh? Like, this is a rental. Like, why is the check engine light on? I remember I started to drive. Something was trying to run me off the road. Like, it tried to turn into a nightmare, because a lot of times when you have a nightmare and when you wake up, it's like you're in a state of shock for a second. And while you're in that state of shock, you start to forget about all the things that you dreamed about before the nightmare. So one thing that I like to do, you know, if I got my phone beside me, I always like to make voice notes. You know, I have certain people that I can hit up and talk to them about my dreams and stuff, so that I won't forget what I just dreamed about, you know. So that's why I was still able to retain the information. But what that taught me as well is that at the end of the day, in the Bible, when it talked about not casting pearls to the swine, you know, it's very important. A lot of times when we get certain information and certain things come back online, the first thing that you think about doing is telling the world. Now, is one thing that I do agree with when we talk about you know, secret societies and stuff like that, and is that not everybody is supposed to know everything. Not everybody is supposed to know everything. And one thing I remember in the dream, it was like, you know, not everybody in the game is meant to wake up. You know, you can be a developer and you can create a game to where, you know, you got hundreds and hundreds of NPCs that are walking around in the game. And then you can be the only one, you know, as a developer, you're creating an avatar so you can experience the game, you know, and play it. And you're the only one, you can be the only one that's conscious. You know, you're the only one out of the whole crowd of people that's conscious, that remembers that you're the developer in the game. Now, just like the Matrix, all the NPCs are programmable. You know, they're all programmable, and they all have, they can all be hijacked, just like the Mr. Smith, the Agent Smith character, you know. So what that means is, you know, there are hidden agents among us. And if you don't know, if the so-called friend or the person that you're trying to tell about these real high knowledge, you know, spiritual knowledge type stuff, and you don't know who you're talking to, you know, you could literally be sharing vital information to a potential op, you know. And how many times have we seen that play out with these whistleblowers, and certain people thought they were cool in friendships and stuff, and they tell them something out of confidentiality, and then all of a sudden now the whole organization is gone. All because, you know, one person let the cat out of the bag and snitched and told on everybody, you know. So that's why I talk about soul family so much. You know, that's why I talk about learning your tribe and all of that, because you can be in a crowd of 1 million people and only 10 people are a part of the developer team, you know, a part of the developer team. And you wouldn't even know unless you've done the shadow work and you reprogram yourself and you know who you are. And when you know who you are, you're able to see through the illusionary projections that's in front of you. You're able to look behind them and see the cord hanging from behind them, and you're able to see who they're plugged into and who they're connected to. And if they're not connected to a higher being like you are, you know, if they're not a fragmented connection to a higher being like you are, you're just talking to a dead person. You're talking to an NPC. You're talking to someone who can be programmed and turned into an op. So that's another thing. So the reason why I had to go through a lot of what I went through in my journey was for me to remember why it's so important. Number one, that everybody don't need to know everything right then. And two, people don't need to wake up before their time, you know? So in my life, you know, even as a child, I've always felt like, especially now, I've always felt like I was only half of who I really am until I started doing this shadow work. Even though I've had different successes in my life when I was younger, I did a lot of good things and stuff like that. But, you know, when you have a lot of these people and they be like, I wish that I could go back to when I was a kid, or they would have different memories and they'd be like, I wish I can go back to this memory, or I wish I can go back to that memory. It's like with me, I be having those same type of thoughts, but then something else would kick in and be like, nah, I don't want to go back to any of those times when I was younger. I don't even want to go back to my 20s because I didn't know who I was in my 20s. You know, I was only half of my potential when I was in my 20s, even though physically I was younger, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally, I was lost in my 20s. I didn't start getting on this particular journey until I was like 28, like from like late 27 till now. And even then, I don't even want to really go back to those times, simply because those times were those times for a reason. You know, I don't want to go back and do something that's going to mess up what I learned up to now. So in 2016, when I came to Florida and I came to Full Sail and all of that, that was around the time where, you know, I was just coming into consciousness. I didn't really know too much. This is when I first started learning about natal charts. This is when I first started learning about astrology and all of that type of stuff. I really didn't blossom fully until later on. And being honest, I truly feel like the only reason why I went to Full Sail was to get that laptop that I ended up getting, was to get that microphone and that interface that I ended up getting, because even though I didn't get a chance to finish Full Sail, I made some good connections. I met some good people and stuff like that. But it was because I got that MacBook and because I got that microphone that I was able to start what is known now as the BandClap TV podcast. That's when I started my channel, late 2016, early 2017, or it probably was 2017 when I started BandClap TV. And slowly, 2017, BandClap TV ended up being a medium where I can chronicle all of the things that I've been going through. You know, I'm able to chronicle I was able to chronicle the slow awakening that I ended up getting throughout this journey. 2018 came, had a really dark night of the soul, you know, first time going through that. But at another type of vein, 2018, this is when I got into show production. And show production, you know, I know now that me going to that festival, that Electric Forest Festival in Rothbury, Michigan, that was my initiation. You know, it was my initiation going back into who I was in this other dimension. And I'm gonna tell y'all why as we keep going. And usually when you get into show production, you know, you don't start off with a festival, especially a big festival like Electric Forest. It was like my initiation, it was like level 10. My initiation was like the hardest level. Even when I played video games, I would never start the video game on easy. I would always start it on hard. So that was a real crazy initiation. But I remember when I came back to Florida after that experience, it was like I was a new person. Like I was a different person after that. And I ended up going on this journey. And I want to give a shout out to Monty. I want to give a shout out to Jaden, you know, because, you know, during my biggest transition of my life, you know, these were the two guys that I was staying with, you know, I was roommating with. And this is where everything started for me, you know, as far as me getting back to that space to where where I'm listening to my thoughts, and I'm learning how to formulate my thoughts, and how to learning how to portray out and stuff like that. Because for so long I've just been keeping things to myself. For so long I would get different things, and the only way that it would come out is through a rap song or something like that. So now I'm using the same type of energy that I would use to make these rap songs, and now I'm using this to make podcasts, and it's getting fun because, you know, I'm using videos and I'm making, you know, different stuff, you know, in that type of vein. And being with Monty and being with Jaden, they provided this high vibrational environment. You know, we were all into music. We were all into learning about consciousness. And, you know, Monty, you know, he was on the Christian side. You know, Jaden, he was more on the New Age side. And then me, I was more on the, you know, on the Orisha side. And that environment was extremely instrumental in me blossoming into what I became. Now I'm fully into show production. I'm doing festivals. I'm getting into corporate gigs and all of that type of stuff. So now I'm in a different type of environment, and I'm learning about myself. I'm learning when I'm in these different environments. And now, instead of me working and lyrics to rap songs are coming in my head, now I'm working and, you know, I'm getting spiritual channels. I remember the first channel I got was from Aaliyah, and then after that, Selena, and then after that, Left Eye, then after that, Michael Jackson. Like all these different artists, you know, I started going through what Brother Panic was going through when he was on his journey. You start vibrating so high that now you're able to communicate with ancestors who were celebrities that have passed on, and they're telling me about the god and goddess that they represented when they were here, and, you know, how they were had their powers and stuff manipulated from them, and all of that type of stuff. And me chronicling these things and using the things that I learned from Full Sail to create these videos and to create these podcasts, I'm simultaneously building a following. I'm simultaneously, you know, I'm doing shadow work. I'm doing my work, but my work is going into creating me a following, because I'm saying different things that hasn't even really been said about these people. Y'all can attest to this, how from 2017 to now, even when it comes to my voice, you know, now I'm a lot more confident in freestyling. I'm a lot more confident in my voice inflections, and you can hear how sure of myself that I am. And I can't even lie, you know, y'all really help me, because a lot of times I'll make videos and y'all will be in the comments giving me constructive criticism and all that type of stuff. And all of that helped me to get to where I am now. It was 2018 that small glimpses of the baby Eshu started to appear to me. You know, I started to see myself in a super childlike form, you know, and at that time I called it the baby band clap. When years later that ended up turning into the baby Eshu. And then it got to the point, you know, early 2019, I started learning how to soul travel, where I can go, where I can look at different veves and travel to the land where these symbols and what they created and all of that type of stuff. You know, 2018, 2019, I covered a lot of ground in my shadow work, or so I thought. A lot of my music started to change. A lot of the Orishas that I would work with, they would give me songs to sing. They would give me music to sing, you know, stuff that I still haven't came out yet, you know, and I know why now, because all of that stuff is going to go into Eshu's world, you know. So at nighttime, I'm doing dream work, you know, I'm doing shadow work. And then in the daytime, I'm either doing my stagehand work, you know, or I'm performing, you know, doing songs, doing shows. You know, that was 2018, 2019 was a very beautiful time. You know, it didn't start off beautiful, but the more I got into this shadow work journey, it ended up being so beautiful. And I also appreciate y'all, you know, for being there every step of the way. You know, I have to shout out Masterly Foolish, because it was Masterly Foolish. A lot of y'all came from that channel, you know. So late 2019 hit, you know, they ended up moving out of their place, you know, ended up leaving Florida and all of that. So now I'm back at my homeboy, you know, Godfather Tank D, you know, back at him and his wife's place. And around this time, I was creating the third episode of the Archangel Michael Chronicles. And I was doing EDC. I'll never forget. So it was at this time that one leg of my shadow work journey is coming to an end, and a new stage of my shadow work journey is just about to begin. Now remember, 2019 going into 2020, we had a wolf moon, and I remember during this wolf moon when I left and went back home, and at this time I've overstayed, my welcome there, and pretty much if I wanted to come back to Florida, I wasn't going to have nowhere to stay at this time. I was kind of tired of the way I was living at that time. One thing about doing this shadow work, especially for me, once I got to know my inner child and started going on that type of journey, my inner child is super stubborn, because it's almost like you've abandoned me for so long. Now I finally got a connection to you. So it's like, I want your undivided attention. And with that being said, it's hard for you to get back into the matrix of working a 9-to-5 or, doing all of these different things to sell your soul again, just so you can have enough to get a house or have enough to get an apartment. At that time, the show production work, it was good for my journey. But the situation where I was with Monty and Jaden, that was like one of those once in a lifetime, 1 in a million situations that, being honest, it was never supposed to go down like the way it did. That's why I appreciate them so much from the bottom of my heart, because no other situation, even Godfather Tank D, no other situation, you don't get stuff like that every day. Even though for me, that's what I needed to start my journey. That's what I needed. So it was like I was at a crossroad. January of 2020. This is before the Woo It. This is before all of that stuff happened. So I was at a crossroad, and I was like, I know I got to go back to Florida, because I know that my shadow work journey is still just beginning. I know I got a different stage that I want to go. And I remember I prayed during the wolf moon, and I was like, I just want to be free. All of this journey for me has been about freedom, and not feeling like that I have the resources that I need to truly do the things that I would do, being free. That's what I truly feel. And now I understand that it was always in the mind. It was always a mind thing. But at that time, I was still heavily feeling like that it had everything to do with money and all of that kind of stuff. So I had a choice. I was like, okay, if I decide to go back to Florida, I don't want to do no more roommates. I don't want to have no more roommates. I don't want to stay with nobody. I've had not so good experiences doing that, simply because of this journey that I have to go on. A journey that not everybody is going to understand. And even if they can understand it, that doesn't mean that everybody's gonna be for it, because at the end of the day, bills still got to be paid, things still got to be done. And that's just how it is. That's just how this world has been set up. So I knew that if I decided to go back to Florida in 2020, I was going to be fully on my own. All the people that I was super cool with are either not in Florida or they're far away from where I'm at. And this was kind of like the next stage in my journey. So I still remember it to this day. I still remember how I didn't know what I was doing. I knew I was gonna be in my truck. I didn't know what I was doing. I remember going to Walmart, getting like some mat pads, letting my seats and stuff down. The early stages of trying to turn my truck into a bed. I was confused. Like, I didn't really know what to do. I really didn't know how things are gonna go from here. But when I tell you, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, I felt so free. Like, I felt like the sky was the limit. Like, not even, I felt like the sky was not even the limit. I felt like there was a lie beyond the sky. Like, there's no limit. Like, in my soul, I felt so free. Even though everything on the outside was like, what the hell are you doing? In my mind, in my soul, I felt so liberated. I was so happy. I was so free. I was so jolly. I remember just sitting up in my truck, like looking at the stars and looking at the moon with just this childlike, adventurous type of, energy, and I just remember, my first week, being in my truck. I remember I was doing the enchant. Where was that, in like Tampa or something like that? And, this is when I first started, thinking about getting an RV and stuff. And, my vibration was so high. I was vibing so high. Something told me to go on Facebook and just type in RV. I found there was a lady, she was selling the RV. It was for like $1,300 to $1,400, and she was like, the reason why she was selling it was because she got it in a divorce settlement. It belonged to her husband. You know, it was lightly used. Everything worked. It ran. She didn't really want it anymore because it belonged to her husband. They got it in a divorce settlement, and she didn't want anything that reminded her of her husband. So I was like, all right, this is about to be my life. You know, I knew that once I finished with that enchant gig, I would have enough to get the RV because I already had half of it. You know, but she was like, you know, well, hit me up, you know, when you get paid and all that type of stuff. And just in my mind, I was just like, you know, this is it. You know, about to have an RV, about to be, you know, traveling, you know, doing festivals, doing work, able to do my videos. You know, this is before anything else. You know, anything else. I didn't have no webs. I didn't have none of that. You know, this is early 2020 before anything. And I want to stop right there because this is already going on long enough. So this is going to be Shadow Work Ain't Pretty Part 1. And Part 2, I'm going to talk about the real nitty gritty of what I went through after that. Because right now, it started off with a real, you know, it started off real crazy, but it ended on such a high note. And when you think about it, that's what shadow work is. You know, reuniting with the repressed part of yourself that you always put to the back burner because of how you were programmed to live and all of that. Reuniting with that is not only half the battle, because it's like once you reunite with that part of yourself and all of that, once you reunite with that, now the real work starts. You know, and the real work for me, it started in 2020. That's when the real work started. I did a lot from 2015 to 2020, the first 5 years. In order for me to do what I did from 2020 on out, the first 5 years from 2015 on to 2020 was very vital. You know, those were very vital for me because of all the things that I went through, even till now. No telling what I would have been or what I would have done had I not went through that, you know. So shadow work ain't pretty, but at the end of the day, you learn that the imperfections are the true beauty. You know, the imperfections is the perfection. And if y'all can heed that message alone, you will be glad that you did. So I'm gonna leave y'all with that. I know this video is gonna be super long. So, and this is just me just chronicling and just telling y'all about, you know, what is truly the importance of doing this shadow work and why is it so important, not only for us, but for our children, for the youth, you know, because just like what Melanie was saying, there's going to be a lot of spiritual manipulation, a lot of spiritual teachers going to pop up out of nowhere, making TikToks. You know, everybody and their mama got access to a phone now. And if you're not rooted into who you are, and you don't have a inner guide to guide you to the information that you really need to be intaking, you too can get manipulated by this illusion out here, you know, because you know, these buzzwords, you know, everybody's talking about shadow work, everybody's talking about woke, and you know, all these different words that we've been using. The system of soulless beings, they've always used our symbolism and used our words and our trends against us, you know. And the only way for you not to be fooled is for you to know who you are and be up on game and understand that you are the game developer. You played a vital part in creating this. And since you played a vital part in creating this, in your mind, where these soulless beings can't go, you created a failsafe. You know, you created a failsafe. And in that failsafe, you created different cheat codes and stuff like that for you to be able to live the life that you've always wanted. The biggest trick that's been played on us is us believing that we're nothing but an NPC. We're nothing but a slave, you know, all that type of stuff. So I appreciate y'all for always being on this journey with me, you know, for my day ones. You know, a lot of things are changing, especially on YouTube. So a lot more of my videos are going to be taken down. I'm revamping my Patreon. A lot of things were just put on hold until I finished with this Eshu's World episode. So I hope y'all really enjoyed that. My website is still up. If you would like readings, if you want to take advantage of that, it's there. I'm always looking for donations so that I can put towards my animated series, because I don't get no money for this. You know, I'm doing this with a dream for it to blossom, and I'm able to make money off of it so I can pay my voice actors and also so I can create a bigger team and stuff like that. So if y'all see the progress, see how far I came, and and want to donate, you know, to keep going, my donation links are always in the descriptions of my video. And I love y'all. Like I always say, BandClap TV, we out. And no matter what, you got to stay shining. What's up, y'all? I hope y'all enjoyed that video. And if you stayed to the end, I appreciate you. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, I want to redirect you to my Instagram page. I don't promote my Instagram page a lot, but as my subscriber count and things like that rise due to things like shadow banning and stuff like that, I'm hearing that a lot of people aren't getting my notifications when I go live on YouTube and stuff like that. So for all things BandClap TV, my Instagram page and my story are going to have all of the notifications and things like that when it comes to when I'm going live, when I'm going, you know, when I'm releasing videos, when I'm releasing content. Also on my Instagram page, if you're curious about my reviews for my readings and stuff like that, as you can see on my Instagram, I have a lot of different testimonials and stuff like that. For those who don't know of me as an artist, I also have videos of me performing and stuff like that. I'll be putting out more stuff like that very, very soon. So I'm just trying to get as many people right now to go ahead and follow me on Instagram. That is BandClap TV. And also my Facebook and Snapchat, BandClap TV as well. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all. And like I always say, no matter what, you got to stay shining.